So let me begin by saying Gamajoba. That means a very, very warm hello and welcome to all of you, ministers, excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to be with you here today as moderator. I'm Melинда, Chief Political Correspondent at Deutsche Welle Television, and it is a very special honor to moderate this panel on transport infrastructure. We have spoken already today about the immense benefits that can be delivered by the Belt and Road Initiative in facilitating trade and in facilitating socially and environmentally inclusive and sustainable growth. We've also talked about virtual connectivity in the sense of e-commerce. Now, we want to explore the physical connectivity that underpins both Belt and Road's ability to deliver on that economic and social promise, and also that underpins e-commerce. Now, without doubt, the Belt and Road Initiative is much more than just a gigantic infrastructure project. Yet, clearly, transport infrastructure is absolutely key to unlocking those economic, political, and social benefits that we heard about earlier today. For it to do so, and this was mentioned among others by Director General Hololei in his remarks earlier, and also by our keynote speaker, for transport infrastructure to do that, to unlock that promise, it must be competitive. That means it must be seamless, and it also must be socially and environmentally sustainable. So in this panel, we want to ask how some of the key countries participating in this immensely ambitious initiative can provide that kind of infrastructure. What do they plan to contribute in terms of transport infrastructure that meets those goals that I just mentioned? And how are they working together amongst each other to make sure that this truly is one belt and one road? So with that, I will now take my seat, and it is my great honor to introduce our panel. And beginning, of course, with our host, it is a great pleasure for all of us to be here, thanks to Georgia, and it is a pleasure to welcome onto this panel His Excellency Dimitri Kumsishvili. I think you probably heard him earlier today. He is first Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development of Georgia. So many thanks, Excellency, that we can meet here to discuss. And seated next to him, His Excellency Ahmed Arslan. He is Minister of Transport, Maritime Affairs and Communications of Turkey. Welcome to you. And it is a pleasure to welcome, seated next to me, His Excellency Ramin Guluzadeh. He is Minister of Transport, Communications and High Technologies of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Seated next to him, we have another gentleman whom you met earlier today, Mr. Henrik Hololei. He is Director General of Transport and Mobility at the European Commission, the directorate fondly known as DG Move. Great to have you with us as well. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome His Excellency Andrzej Adamczyk. He is Minister of Infrastructure and Construction of the Republic of Poland. And finally, a pleasure to have with us on the panel Dr. Peter Gašpačić. He is Minister of Infrastructure of the Republic of Slovenia. So I'm going to ask our panelists to begin very briefly. I've asked them to please keep their remarks to 4 minutes at maximum, and they get a special prize if they come in under 4. I'd like to begin by asking all of the panelists to share their visions of the Belt and Road Initiative, of the implications for transport, and of the role that their countries or organizations, in the case of the EU, are going to play. And I'll begin with Georgia. We heard already today about how very important this initiative is to your country, Minister. This is not only, you were the very first to host a forum on Belt and Road, the one 2 years ago that preceded this. You're at the very strategic crossroads of Europe and Asia, and in fact, you were an important post on the ancient Silk Road as well. So what is your vision and what is your contribution?
First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the Tbilisi Silk Road Forum, the second one, which we hosted right now. The first one we hosted in 2015, and I would like to mention that a lot of good things happened after that time. And in regards of today's meeting, I would like to be very honest that we are very proud to see all of you in our country, in our city. And for Georgia, it is utmost important to make this corridor, the middle corridor, much strengthened, much attractive, and much valuable for all participants of the Belt and Road Initiative. To start from the beginning, why the Georgia shares the Belt and Road Initiative main principles is that the main principle of the Belt and Road Initiative is that we, first of all, should be valued our territorial integrity and sovereignty. And for Georgia, this is very important part of this philosophy. The secondly is that the countries along the Belt and Road are not the competitors. We can only complement each other. We should find the synergies and we should help each other to grow, to prosper, and to develop. And this is the main principles how this philosophy should work. So in regards of our country, I would like to mention that we are investing a lot on our hard infrastructure. And we elaborate the 4-pillar reform agenda in the middle of 2016, and one of the biggest direction of that pillar is to investing on the core infrastructure, which means that we are investing billions of dollars on the East-West Highway, North Corridor, as well as in the modernization of our railway. And with the private sector, we are creating and constructing the deep sea port on the Black Sea shore. So altogether, this is the billions of dollars which we would like to invest in our economy. But at the same time, it is the new jobs, it is the inclusive growth, it is the prosperity. But as it was mentioned, Georgia cannot be the separate part from the corridor. If we are investing on the corridor, the other countries should also investing on the corridor. And I am very proud to say that with Turkey and with Azerbaijan, we have a lot of joint projects, like at Tbilisi-Baku Cars project, which is right now in the final stage, and it is already invested around 500 million of United States dollars to this railway. And this is the continuation of the end part of the Asian Silk Road. And only jointly we can achieve the goal which we would like to achieve. And the goal is very simple: to be competitive as a corridor, to have the inclusive growth inside our countries, and the growth should be inclusive. This is the main goals what we would like to achieve. To be competitive, you need the more quality infrastructure, you need the harmonization in your legislation, and you should be the open economy. So, warm welcome to Georgia, the country where you can do the business very easily, and our Prime Minister today in the morning mentioned this, and not only to do business, but also to make the recreation, to make your vacation here. But if return to the Belt and Road Initiative, we are very proud that Georgia became the hub for the region. And as I mentioned, we are investing a lot to our infrastructure as well as to human resources.
Thank you very much, Minister. So let me go to the next hub that is seated next to you, Turkey, also clearly giving tremendous importance to this initiative. You sent both your president and your foreign minister to the Belt and Road Summit in May in Beijing. your country also a very critical gateway between Asia and Europe. So how important is this initiative, also particularly in the area of transport infrastructure? What is your country contributing, and what kind of larger gains do you hope to take away from this?
Sayın Kreni, çok teşekkür ederim. Öncelikle tüm panelistleri ve değerli katılımcıları en içten dileklerimle selamlıyorum. Dünya genelinde 60'tan fazla ülkeyi kapsayan yeni İpek Yolu girişimi, dünya nüfusunun 4,5 milyarını ifade eden çok önemli bir proje. Bunu özellikle vurgulamakta fayda var. Bu girişim ekonomik, siyasi, sosyal, kültürel alanlarda birbiriyle bağlantılı yepyeni bir sistemin tesisi anlamına geliyor. Kazan-kazan anlayışına dayalı bu projenin hayata geçirilmesi Türkiye için çok büyük önem arz ediyor. Çünkü siyasi ve ekonomik işbirliğine dayalı bir sistem, bölgemizde istikrar ve refah temelli yeni bir dönemin de kapılarını aralayacaktır. Bildiğiniz gibi Asya ile Avrupa arasındaki ekonomik ve ticari ilişkilerin süratle derinleştiği bir dönemi yaşıyoruz. Nitekim Çin ile Avrupa arasında ticaret bugün 1,5 milyar doları bulan bir boyuta erişti. Ve bu ticaret akışının artarak devam edeceğini düşünürsek, 2025 yılında 740 milyar dolarlık bir ticaret hacminden bahsediyor olacağız. İki kıta arasındaki bağlantının geliştirilmesi bu nedenle hayati öneme haiz. Kuşak ve yol girişimi sayesinde bu gerekliliğe ilişkin uluslararası farkındalığın artırılması bizi son derece memnun ediyor. Sizin de belirttiğiniz gibi Asya ile Avrupa'nın kesişme noktasında bulunan Türkiye, İpek Yolu coğrafyasının önde gelen ülkelerinden biri. Çok önemli ticaret yollarının ve ulaştırma bağlantılarının üzerinde yer almakta. Tabii Türkiye sadece coğrafi ve ekonomik bir geçiş noktası değil, aynı zamanda kültürel bir köprü görevi de görüyor. Hem Asya hem Avrupa ülkeleriyle köklü ve tarihsel bağlarımız var. Bu nedenle Türkiye'nin kuşak ve yol girişimi içinde önemli bir birleştirici rol oynayacağı kanaatindeyim. Biz bu çerçevede kuşak ve yol ülkeleriyle işbirliği mekanizmalarını geliştirme gayreti içerisindeyiz. Yine her şeyden önemlisi kuşak ve yol girişiminin Türkiye'nin Orta Koridor projesiyle bütünleşiyor olması. Orta Koridor, Avrupa'nın Anadolu üzerinden Orta Asya'ya ve oradan da Çin'e bağlanmasının hedef bir projesi. Türkiye'nin bölgesi için lojistik bir üs olma perspektifine dayanmakta. Kuşak ve yol girişiminin orta ve uzun vadede vesile olacağı ekonomik ve siyasi işbirliği ortamının da bu hedefler için büyük önem taşıdığını biliyoruz. Nitekim Türkiye gerek demir yollarında, gerek karayollarında, gerek denizcilikte 2023 hedeflerini belirlerken Asya ile Avrupa arasında köprü konumunda olduğunu biliyor ve orta koridoru tamamlamak adına da bu projelerin hepsini çok önemsiyordu. Nitekim bu anlamda biz hem bölünmüş yollarımızı yaklaşık 4 katına çıkardık, sıcak asfaltımızı 4 katına çıkardık ve Asya ile Avrupa arasında uluslararası taşıma koridorlarına hizmet edecek yüksek hızlı trenler dahil olmak üzere iki kıtayı birleştiren hem tüneller hem köprüler yaptık. İşte bunlarla birlikte hedefimiz Azerbaycan, Gürcistan ve Türkiye olarak bugüne kadar işbirlikleri, bu koridor anlamında işbirliklerini yaptık ama bunun artık sadece 3 ülke değil, Asya ile Avrupa arasında bu güzergah üzerinde bulunan bütün ülkelerle bu işbirliğini yaparak taşıma koridorlarını cazip hale getirmektir amacımız. O da tam da bu forumun konusuyla örtüşüyor. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you very much, and we will talk in just a moment concretely about how that cooperation can be facilitated. But let me now go here to the third partner in the railway line that was mentioned a bit earlier by the first Vice Prime Minister, Mr. Kumsishvili, namely that very, very important Baku-Tbilisi Kars railway line. That, of course, takes the middle corridor a good step further toward fruition, toward realizing the potential that it can offer. Your country, Minister Gulazade, is absolutely crucial partner in that endeavor. So I wonder if you can share with us your vision for your role in the Belt and Road Initiative, for the role that, of course, this railway line will play, and for how you are cooperating with other members in the initiative as a whole.
Спасибо большое, уважаемые министры, дамы и господа. Прежде всего, позвольте поприветствовать вас и выразить благодарность правительству Грузии за теплый прием. Для меня большая честь выступать здесь. Сегодня я хотел бы пожелать удачной и продуктивной работы всем участникам форума. В Азербайджане, вставшим на путь устойчивого развития, наряду с другими отраслями, придается очень большое значение транспортному сектору. Реформы, проводимые в этой сфере, включающие применение логистической концепции, совершенствование управления правовой базы, обновление инфраструктуры, широкое применение инноваций, развитие условий для конкуренции инвестиций, повышение доступности и качества услуг, а также другие факторы, основанные на передовой международной практике, являются основной транспортной политикой Азербайджана. Находясь на пересечении транспортных коридоров Восток-Запад и Север-Юг, Азербайджанская республика обладает большим транспортным потенциалом и активно участвует в реализации проектов, направленных на развитие инфраструктуры, основанных транспортных коридоров Восток-Запад и Север-Юг. Это позволяет увеличить объем грузоперевозок, способствует дополнительному привлечению грузов и повышению конкурентоспособности этих коридоров. Наша цель – создание транспортной инфраструктуры, способствующей соединению трансевропейских и трансазиатских транспортных сетей. В этой связи, с вашего позволения, я бы хотел коротко проинформировать вас о работах, проводимых с целью развития транспортной инфраструктуры Азербайджана. С 2004 года в Азербайджане было проложено 11 тысяч километров автомобильных дорог. Из них более 1300 километров дорог являются азербайджанским участком коридоров Восток-Запад и Север-Юг, а также маршрута Черноморской кольцевой автомагистрали. В стране сдано в эксплуатацию 6 международных аэропортов. Сегодня Азербайджан располагает парком из десятков крупных грузовых и новейших пассажирских самолетов и активно участвует в воздушных грузоперевозках. Кроме того, для расширения мультимодальных перевозок и увеличения их объемов на Каспии дополнительно были закуплены и сданы в эксплуатацию несколько современных танкеров. Строящийся Бакинский международный морской торговый порт является важной частью транспортной инфраструктуры не только Азербайджана, но и всего региона. По завершению первой фазы строительства, которая намечается в середине следующего года, грузооборот порта составит 15 миллионов тонн грузов и 100 тысяч контейнеров. В будущем же, после окончательного завершения второго этапа, грузооборот составит 25 миллионов тонн грузов и 1 миллион контейнеров в год. Модернизируется железнодорожный транспорт страны, что позволит повысить скорость движения поездов и создаст условия для эксплуатации скоростных пассажирских поездов в будущем. Наряду с этим в Азербайджане также уделяется большое внимание вопросу полного использования транзитных возможностей страны. С целью облегчения международных автомобильных перевозок обеспечена возможность получения разрешения вне квоты и виз на границе Азербайджана по принципу единого окна. Хотел бы с гордостью отметить, что 30 октября этого года страны нашего региона стали свидетелями и участниками грандиозного события в транспортной сфере открытия железнодорожного сообщения Баку-Тбилиси-Карс. Президенты Азербайджана и Турции, премьер-министры Грузии, Казахстана, Узбекистана, представители правительства Туркменистана и Таджикистана, а также многочисленные гости приняли участие в этом мероприятии. Строительство этой дороги является результатом совместного сотрудничества Азербайджана, Грузии и Турции. Данный проект послужит углублению сотрудничества между нашими странами, откроет новые возможности для роста торгового оборота и взаимных инвестиций. На фоне положительных событий в регионе хотел бы выразить уверенность в том, что данный форум послужит дальнейшему укреплению и расширению сотрудничества в транспортной сфере, а также принесет новые идеи по совершенствованию транспортной отрасли наших стран. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. And I would like to go now to Director General Hololei, and I'm sure that it hasn't been lost on anybody in this room that, interestingly enough, we have 3 representatives of Europe with us here on a panel talking about an initiative that is perhaps often conceived as something that sort of begins in Asia and then goes through Central Asia, but perhaps we don't always have the focus on the fact that this is very much about Europe as well. So I'm very curious, Director General, to hear your vision of how you think this enormous project of transport infrastructure will impact Europe, what Europe can do to make it a success, and for you, as the great master of corridors and networks, as he hinted at in his remarks earlier today, what are the important messages you would also want to convey to those who are sitting on the panel as they approach bringing these networks into development?
Thank you very much, Melinda. And you have now loaded a lot of questions, but you were the one who said that you have to stick below 4 minutes, so I'm afraid that might be quite challenging.
That's 1 minute for each
question.
I
guess we have plenty of opportunities to discuss, and I think that this was a very good introduction to this panel, also to listen to the previous speakers. And when you talk about the need to cooperate and coordinate, then these 3 countries have also very clearly shown what they can do from their part, and the construction, and now, and the congratulations as well, the opening of the Baku-Tbilisi Kars Railway, I think is a very good example of that. And through these kind of regional projects, through cooperation, we are making the steps in order to build the real connections between Asia and Europe. You're absolutely right, Melinda, when you said that that is also very much about Europe. Of course it is about Europe, because this is the largest market, in a way, because it is the 550 million market, which is extremely mature in terms of demand, but also at the same time extremely well established. And you know, it doesn't start from the borders of Europe, it starts inside Europe, and that's why what we do in Europe in order to develop our infrastructure, the whole concept of the trans-European networks, which is becoming more and more sophisticated and fine-tuned, is absolutely essential, because without that, you would stop on the European borders. And I think the main thing is also to try to concentrate on the part of this land link where there are missing links and also, of course, bottlenecks. It needs a lot of modernization, it needs a lot of upgrading. So, you know, I just bring one quote here again, which I did already in the morning. I now quote the Dutch very famous architect, Rem Koolhaas, who was actually saying that infrastructure is more important than architecture. Well, I guess that this morning when we were in the wonderful opera hall, we were probably proved wrong on that one. But my point is that it is the heart of it. But what is also very important to be kept in mind constantly is that it's not for the infrastructure we are doing it. We are doing it also because we want to have connectivity. Connectivity is the key word in my mind in this context. Now, it is the key word, but it is also relatively empty, because it has to be filled with something, and it has to be filled with trade. It is infrastructure and connectivity is there to foster trade on one hand, the business. And then on the other hand, of course, it also fosters the people-to-people contact. That is what we want to achieve through better, more sustainable, and more smarter infrastructure. And here we are embarking on a very major project in trying to create new links between Asia and Europe. And, or rather, I think it's probably fair to say, trying to recreate the old links, because over the years, over the centuries, the old links have somehow faded away. It's time to put them back on the map in reality. But what it also needs, it needs to tear down the barriers. I said that in the morning, I'm saying it again, and you stressed it as well, Melinda. It's about, you know, there is no point of having the great infrastructure and connectivity when you have a cumbersome customs procedures, where you have trains waiting for ages on the borders, where you have very complicated red tape you have to fill, where you have tariff systems which do not match with each other. You have to overcome that as well. At the same time, when you're building the infrastructure, you have to internalize all that into the thinking, because otherwise you're not going to make any real progress. So I think this is important. What's also important is the interoperability. You are passing many countries. And so you have to have an interoperable system in place. And of course, this is the nature of it, and we need to talk about. 3 minutes, 58 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Certainly, from the point of view of a moderator who works often in the transport sector and particularly in Europe, there is no question that interest in Belt and Road has increased dramatically within Europe. Probably most of you know, it was mentioned earlier this morning, 5 years ago, China launched the 16+1 initiative, which links it with Eastern European countries, of which 2 are represented here on the panel. And that framework has very much become a launch pad for involvement in the Belt and Road Initiative. So let me please ask you, dear Minister, to share your vision of what this can mean for Slovenia and of how your country will be contributing to being a part of this larger whole.
Thank you, Melinda. Let me first thank the organizers, Georgian government, and the minister for organizing this very important event already for the second time. I was here in 2015 at the first Tbilisi Forum, and I have to congratulate you that you have made it even bigger, even more important, even better. So thank you very much for that. Georgia and Slovenia are similar countries in many ways. Both are characterized by beautiful mountains, beautiful sea, very good wine, but also they're important for transport infrastructure. And both of countries are lying in this ancient Silk Road, which is now going to be revived. We are all working into that field to revive this, what already once existed between Asia and Europe. Since the trade is developing and is going to develop, we have to improve infrastructure which is going to enable this exchange of goods and trade between Europe and Asia. It's all about that. So as Georgia is characterized by its geographic position as a hub in Central Asia, Slovenia works like an entry point at the top of Adriatic Sea to the Central and Eastern European, Southeastern European countries. And it is the shortest way from Asia by the sea if you want to reach those countries. So instead of going around Spain and all the way to North Adriatic ports, you can go to Adriatic Sea and through Slovenia or North Adriatic ports. This way is shorter by 7 days. A lot of CO2 emissions can be saved, so you can reach Central, Southeastern Europe by this way. So this is interest of huge interest of Slovenia that this path of Silk Road or Belt and Road Initiative are included in our efforts to guarantee infrastructure connections from the shore of Adriatic to Central, Southeastern European countries. So we are, in order to do that, we are developing our most important port of Koper, which has undergone several investments already in past several years. So we have deepened the port so it can accept post-Panamax ships carrying 20,000 containers. Container traffic is increasing all the time. We are reaching 20 million tons of transshipment in the port already in recent years, and the potential is to grow to up to 40 or even more million tons per year. So in order to enable such flows, we are also modernizing railway infrastructure, which is most green infrastructure in Europe compared to trucks or all other ways. So we are trying to improve core network corridors. As Henrik said, it doesn't end at the borders, but you have to improve infrastructures which connects the ports or other logistics hubs to inlands, and we are investing in railway 2 billion euros in next 5 to 6 years, and we have one of the most important projects is to improve or remove bottleneck between Port of Koper and main corridor, so which is that project alone is worth 1 billion euros. So we are most interested to be connected, to be involved in this initiative, Belt and Road Initiative, to be part of these flows which go from Asia to Europe. Thank you.
Jestem przekonany, że to, co się tutaj dzisiaj dzieje,
I'm convinced that all what is happening today here,
to daje mi wielki zaszczyt, że w tym wydarzeniu uczestniczę wraz ze swoim zespołem.
it gives me great pleasure and honor to be a part of this meeting together with my team.
Bo te dzisiejsze wydarzenia, one odłożą się na najbliższych miesiącach i latach, kiedy mówimy o nowoczesnej infrastrukturze pasa i szlaku,
Because today's developments,
pasa i drogi.
today's developments, today's events will have a positive influence on the future of innovative, smart infrastructure with special regard to the Belt and Road Initiative.
Nie chciałbym, żeby to było źle zrozumiane, ale też mam nadzieję, że będę do tego uprawniony, żeby powiedzieć, że ktoś, kto dzisiaj zdecydował, że jest nieobecny w Tbilisi,
I don't want to be misunderstood, but I would like to inform you that somebody who decided not to be today in Tbilisi,
a ma nadzieję na przyszłość brać udział w tym wielkim przedsięwzięciu, jakim jest budowa nowoczesnej infrastruktury, wiele traci.
and would like to be a part of this process in the future, which is the process of constructing a modern infrastructure, is not a part of this process, is lacking a lot of good elements of today's show.
Mój kraj, Polska, który ma zaszczyt tutaj reprezentować,
My country, Poland, which I'm honored to represent today,
rozwija relacje gospodarcze z Gruzją
develops the economic ties with Georgia
od bardzo długiego czasu.
since a very long time.
I to procentuje. Myśl pana świętej pamięci prezydenta Lecha Kaczyńskiego
And it gives us benefits. It gives us mutual benefits. The ideas of our president, Mr. Lech Kaczynski,
który przed laty inspirował nas do tej współpracy,
who a couple years ago was inspiring us for this cooperation,
dzisiaj wydaje owoce.
today is very fruitful and gives us the results of those efforts.
Temat transportu towarów korytarzami łączącymi Europę z Azją z wykorzystaniem potencjału Polski i Gruzji jest poruszany wielokrotnie na naszych obustronnych spotkaniach.
Freight transport using the transport corridors is a very often a subject of our meetings, and both at the unilateral and bilateral level.
Rozmowy te przebiegają owocnie i pragnę Państwa tutaj potwierdzić w imieniu mojego kraju, w imieniu Rzeczypospolitej, że jesteśmy równie gotowi do współpracy i chcemy współpracować ze wszystkimi, którzy tworzą te nowoczesne korytarze komunikacyjne.
These talks are very productive, and I would like to assure you from the point of view of my country, from Poland, that we are ready and open for cooperation with anybody who is interested in this process, the process of creation of modern and sustainable transport corridors.
Wiele krajów tutaj przywoływanych przez swoje położenie stanowi bardzo istotne ogniwo w tych relacjach.
Many countries, because of their geographical location, are very important in that process.
I powiem to nieskromnie, że Polska ma szczególne położenie, które wpisuje się w realizację przedsięwzięć, o których tutaj mówimy.
And I would like to emphasize that very strongly that Poland, due to its strategic and geographical location, is a very important element of this thinking about the transport corridors linking Asia and Europe.
Jesteśmy mocno zaangażowani w przedsięwzięcia infrastrukturalne w naszym kraju, ale także mocno zaangażowani w przedsięwzięcia chociażby kolejowy korytarz transkaspijski.
We are very strongly involved in the infrastructure construction in Poland, but not only in our country, but also outside Poland. The best example is the Trans-Caspian Railway Corridor, which is very important for us.
Jesteśmy przekonani, że daleko idąca współpraca między państwami tworzącymi te korytarze komunikacyjne pozwoli wytworzyć zupełnie nowe oblicze handlu międzynarodowego.
We are deeply convinced that the strong cooperation between all the stakeholders along the corridors will create a new value in the economy.
Uważamy, a tak jest w Polsce, panuje przekonanie, że każdy wysiłek inwestycyjny, każdy wysiłek infrastrukturalny, który pozwala nam budować relacje między Polską a Azją, jest potrzebny, jest korzystny, jest przydatny nie tylko Polsce, ale także wielu krajom, w którym ten szlak funkcjonuje.
We do believe that every infrastructure effort is not only beneficial for Poland, it's beneficial for all the countries involved in the broadly understood cooperation between China and Europe, with special regard to the transport links which are running from China to Europe and vice versa.
Jeszcze raz przepraszam za kłopoty techniczne. Mam nadzieję, że w drugiej części panelu będziemy mogli wymienić szczegółowe uwagi i refleksje, które towarzyszą tym wielkim programom. Mam nadzieję, że te kłopoty techniczne są dobrą wróżbą na przyszłość. Bo to, co się w trudnościach zaczyna, zazwyczaj rewelacyjnie się kończy.
And please once again accept my apologies for those technical problems, but I do believe that this problem can be a good sign for the future, because everything what started badly will result in a productive way in the future. That's what I hope. So I do believe that the further exchange of opinions will be fluent and smoothly. Thank you very much.
Dziękuję.
Thank you very much also for offering your services, dear translator. And in fact, I would say that what we have just experienced is a perfect example of the next thing that I would like to talk about in a bit more detail, namely what cooperation can look like in practice when it comes to surmounting or approaching challenges that you encounter as you try to turn your various contributions and visions of Belt and Road into a reality. So I'd like to talk in particular about two types of cooperation. One is cooperation amongst neighboring countries, cooperation amongst partners to ensure that kind of seamlessness that we've talked about, to ensure interoperability, also to ensure harmonization of policy and legal frameworks, because clearly when we're talking about customs, we're also talking about an aspect of making transport infrastructure work effectively. So that's one point, is cooperation amongst the partners. Second point, cooperation with sources of financing. We were reminded this morning, as much as China is offering in the way of financing, clearly this is going to be about co-financing both from countries but also from the private sector. So crucial question also to you to please address in this part of our discussion is, how can you generate bankable projects that are of interest to the private sector? How do you see cooperation with the private sector developing going forward? So I'm just going to ask everybody to weigh in on those two subjects as briefly and interactively as possible. And I'll start again with our host, the Vice Prime Minister. Please.
So thank you very much, and I would like one times more apologize for the technical problem, but as my colleague mentioned, so what can be started badly can finalize very good. So thank you very much for your understanding. In connection of the cooperation, I think that the Georgian, Azerbaijan, and Turkey cooperation is exemplary. And by the way, we are extended this cooperation to all our neighboring countries, to the Central Asia countries, as well to the Eastern Partnership countries. And finally, what we like to achieve is the decision-making body who can solve the problems inside the corridor in a very fast manner. As it was mentioned, starting from this morning, what we would like to see, we would like to see the competitive tariffs inside the corridor. We would like to see the harmonization of the legislation. We would like to see the better customs procedure. And by the way, I also would like to mention that with Turkey and right now with Azerbaijan, we started the automatic exchange of the information on the customs side, which is very useful and decrease very much the time of the clearance of the goods. So I would like to propose to my colleagues to create some special high-level working group to have the meetings, regularly meetings, to solve the problems as much faster as we can. In direction of the financing part, I think that there are several dimensions, as you mentioned. So first of all, we need the MDB. So this is the multilateral development banks. Secondly, we need the fiscal space inside the country. So if you don't have the fiscal space, otherwise, if you don't have the money in your budget, you can invest on the infrastructure. And thirdly, for sure, the private-public partnership. And in this direction, I think that we should also work a lot to make the better business environment, to make the better PPP framework in all countries to attract as much as possible the private sector, to support the private sector on this endeavor, and for sure to have the multilateral development bank there to support this development.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to get a reaction both from the Minister of Turkey and also from the Minister of Azerbaijan in regard to the proposal to have a high-level working group to really be able to quickly address challenges as they come up. And perhaps also a word from you, dear Minister Aslan, because I know that private sector financing is something that Turkey is working hard to generate through PPPs. If you could say a word about that as well.
Sayın Kreni, özellikle şunu ifade etmek isterim ki yol ve kuşak girişiminde sadece bu işi Çin'in yapması veya belli bir ülkenin yapmasını beklemek elbette ki doğru olmaz. Biz Türkiye olarak gerek kamu kaynaklarını kullanmak adına gerek özel sektörü bu işin içine koymak adına çok ciddi mesafeler aldık. Bunu özellikle ifade etmek istiyorum. Ve birlikteliğe gelince de elbette ki sadece altyapıyı yapmak yetmez. Nitekim bu söylendi. İstediğiniz kadar başarılı bir altyapı yapın. Eğer bunu sağlıklı işletemiyorsanız, sınır geçişlerinde bununla ilgili sıkıntı yaşıyorsanız zaten başarısız olduğunuz anlamına gelir. O yüzden biz gerek bölgesel, gerek bu güzergah üzerindeki bütün ülkelerle zaten mutabakat sapıtlarıyla anlaşmalar yapıyoruz, görüşmeler yapıyoruz ki dediğinize geliyorum. Güzergah üzerindeki bütün ülkelerde sadece ulaştırmanın bir türüyle ilgili de değil, bütün türlerinde işbirliği anlaşması yapmak gerekir ki herhangi bir problem çıktığında oluşturduğunuz o üst düzeyli heyetler anında müdahale etsin, anında çözümler üretsin. Bu çok çok önemli. İkincisi yine Türkiye olarak yatırımlara biz kamu olarak yaptığımız bütün yatırımların yaklaşık %30 ile 35'ini ulaştırma yatırımlarına ayırıyoruz. Ancak buna rağmen varmak istediğimiz hedefe bu paralarla varamayacağımızı biliyoruz. PPP modelini bu konuda çok başarılı bir şekilde uyguladık. Nitekim bugüne kadar yaklaşık 16,5 milyar dolarlık PPP modeliyle yatırım yaptık. Şu an fiilen devam eden işlerimizin de parasal bedeli yaklaşık 25 milyar avro. Şu an devam edenler. Dolayısıyla özel sektör dinamiğini işin içine çekmek gerekiyor. Hem finansal boyutuyla ilgili sıkıntıyı çözmek adına hem de özel sektörün hızlı iş yapabilme kabiliyetini bu işin içine sokmak adına. Ama bugünden sonra artık bunu sadece ülkelerimizde değil, uluslararası koridorda da nasıl özel sektörü bu işin içine çekebiliriz, onu düşünmemiz lazım. Bu anlamda finansal model geliştirmek lazım. Yoksa bu kadar önemli ve 60 ülkeyi ilgilendiren bir koridoru sadece bir ülkeden desteklenmesini beklemek elbette ki hem haksızlık olur hem istediğimiz hedefe erişemeyiz diye düşünüyorum.
Thank you very much. Let me go now to you, Minister Gulizade, and ask you both to comment on the proposal to have a high-level intergovernmental working group to address cooperative challenges, and secondly, the financing piece. I know that Azerbaijan has put enormous amounts of public money into, for example, the BTK line, but going forward, how do you generate private sector involvement, and what kind of challenges do you face in doing so?
Именно добрососедские отношения между нашими тремя государствами дают возможность претворять в жизнь много проектов не только в транспортной сфере, но и энергетике. Все это воплотилось, знаете, с 2007 года. Мы дали старт проекту Баку-Тбилиси-Карс, и 30 октября мы стали свидетелями открытия этой дороги, железной дороги. В будущем, конечно, это будет содействовать нам развивать наши отношения в плане экономики и туризма, и социальные вопросы. Что касается, конечно, вопроса финансирования, у нас в последние годы очень много финансов было вложено именно в инфраструктуру, в транспортную инфраструктуру, в железнодорожную, в авиационную, в строительство новых дорог. И, конечно, мы очень много уделяем внимания частному сектору. Частный сектор в будущем тоже будет участвовать в наших именно проектах, которые будут в дальнейшем развивать нашу сферу в Азербайджане.
Director General Hololei, let me come to you and ask you to talk a little bit about how you see the EU's role in supporting the kind of cooperation that we're talking about. Where can the EU or European institutions in general, we heard a bit earlier from the EBRD about what they're doing to try to support, for example, capacity, institutional processes, and so on. But I wonder how you see your role, the EU's role, and secondly, and I know compound question again, but I am just going to ask you if you can address it briefly. It's been mentioned by a number of speakers. This is a region with a lot of complex geopolitical tensions. What kind of institutional approaches will be needed to ensure that this kind of transport infrastructure can realize its potential in a region that is facing those kind of challenges?
I think I maybe start from the backwards, because this is, in a way, it's easier one. Because, I mean, from the EU perspective, and if we look at this region, if we look at the three countries that we talked, we have very good structures in order to work with them. So, for example, when we talk about Georgia, when we talk about Azerbaijan, Armenia, but equally about Ukraine or Moldova, then we have the Eastern Partnership framework, which is absolutely working very well for political discussions, for the economic discussions, and where we have very clear understanding how to foster the cooperation and how to reap the benefits as well. And last week only we managed to have the high-level understanding with almost all of the Eastern partners concerning the extension of the trans-European networks to their territory. So these are the kind of indicative maps which are very clearly and very well fitting within the overall concept of trying to connect Europe with Asia. So I think that is actually working quite well. When it comes to the finance, maybe I'll just talk about the cooperation to say that I don't think that there is a need for many new kind of structures. It's more like trying to pool in a maximal way what already exists. And we have a lot of structures in place. I already mentioned the Eastern Partnership cooperation. Of course, we have a very close dialogue also with our Turkish friends. And at the same time, with China, the EU has developed the connectivity platform. And the whole concept of the connectivity platform is actually to do coordination and cooperation between EU and China in relation to the Belt and Road Initiative. So again, I mean, the framework as such already exists, and I think that the different regional frameworks that are there also, and for that respect, I think it's a very good idea that Minister Kumisishvili just made concerning the high-level group. I think that these kind of regional initiatives as well are something which are actually contributing to the others. It's just important to have the coordination in place. And that would also bring in the financial institutions. I mean, Minister Arslan is perfectly right, I mean, to say that it is something where financing has to come from many different sources. I think one thing it is very important is that, as also said in the morning, in the EU we very much believe that it is essential to carry out objective analysis to decide which infrastructure should be given priority, and also, and I think that's partly the question to the financing side also, target those that can create revenue and attract the investors, instead of relying on the loan-based financing, because that's much more difficult. And that full investment is not a reasonable option for most of the countries along the Eurasian continent. So I think that is also very clear. And you can't do it all at the same time. In Europe, for example, we have the trans-European networks. The core network is supposed to be completion of the core network between now and 2030, 750 billion. If we go to the comprehensive network, we go to 1.5 trillion. It's a lot of money. You can't do everything at the same time. So prioritization is essential. Trying in the very much focus on two aspects, those projects which are financially viable and in that sense easier to be bankable. And secondly, the kind of projects which also are addressing the bottlenecks and missing links. I think this is where the priority should be. I mean, and when we come to different financial institutions, I mean, EBRD is doing a fantastic job in this region. It has also extended itself further to Central Asia, and we had also very good discussions today with them. I think they are the natural partner here, without any question. European Investment Bank has also been part of this discussion, and in particular in the countries who are also under the Eastern Partnership framework. In Georgia, there is also good examples and very good projects ongoing. So this is another facility. We have in Europe the European Fund for Strategic Investments that can be used for leveraging and blending. So that can also be used from the European side. And of course, now we are also coming up with a new guarantee fund. And the guarantee fund is a very good tool in order to reduce the risks taken by the investors, and by that also helping to attract the private financing. So I think that this is really the mixture of different kind of elements, and there I think that the EU, together with its member states, can play a very significant role and also closely coordinate with all the other partners of this road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Let me now go to our two European countries represented on the panel and ask, first of all, Minister Adamczyk, how you see those two different aspects of cooperation in making your vision and your contribution to Belt and Road as powerful as it can be. First of all, cooperation amongst partners, what's going to be key, what are the mechanisms that you can work with, and secondly, financing sources and how, again, to get the most out of cooperation there.
Mam nadzieję, że tym razem uda nam się w interakcji wymienić uwagi, refleksje, wymienić się pomysłami i opiniami.
I hope that this time we'll interact with exchanging opinions and reflections about the topic. I hope that it will be successful.
Pan dyrektor generalny Holloway w pierwszym swoim wystąpieniu wskazał na bardzo istotne elementy, które mogą wyhamowywać te projekty, elementy, które należy usunąć.
Mr. Director Holloway in his first contribution mentioned about the elements which can hamper these processes, the elements which we should remove.
O finansowaniu powiedziano tutaj już bardzo dużo. Finansowanie to jest kwestią do rozwiązania i do rozstrzygnięcia.
Financing, in my opinion, has been well discussed so far. So, in my opinion, financing is the issue to be solved.
Często trudniejszy jest problem otoczenia prawnego, który w poszczególnych państwach hamuje płynność tego procesu transportowego.
Problem which I see is the legal framework, the legal environment in certain countries which is hampering the process.
Ja pragnę zwrócić uwagę na jeszcze jeden aspekt związany z różnicami w szerokości toru i tutaj Polska ma szczególne doświadczenie.
I would like to also draw your attention to one specific aspect in terms of the track gauges wide, because we are very experienced in that respect.
Otóż Polska ma najdłuższą granicę zewnętrzną, jedną z najdłuższych granic zewnętrznych Unii Europejskiej.
So Poland is a country with one of the longest external EU border.
I jest to granica styku dwojga rodzaju torów. Toru europejskiego i toru szerszego 1520 mm.
And that's the contact point on the border with two railway systems, the wide one and the European one, 1520 and 1435.
Więc tworząc korytarze transportowe należy zadbać o to, aby w sposób płynny, i musimy to przemyśleć i musimy to wprowadzić w życie, żeby w sposób płynny przechodzić na szerszy lub węższy tor, w zależności, który kierunek bierzemy pod uwagę.
While shaping the transport corridors, the issue which we must address is also the way how we can smoothly go from one track to another, from the white to European gauges, in order to make the traffic smoother.
My mamy tutaj do zaproponowania różne rozwiązania, ponieważ co najmniej kilka torów europejskich dochodzi do wschodniej granicy, ale także mamy tor szeroki, który biegnie przez terytorium naszego kraju w kierunku zachodnim.
We have a number of solutions to be proposed from Polish side. We also have a great experience in combining both tracks. It's not only about the changing the tracks on the border, but also it is worth mentioning that the longest white track line is located in Poland.
I na końcu tego toru, który liczy kilkaset kilometrów, znajduje się olbrzymi port przeładunkowy, suchy port przeładunkowy.
And the terminus of this broad gauge line in Poland is the biggest dry port in our country, the Euroterminal in Sławków.
To jest 400 kilometrów, niecałe 400 kilometrów od Berlina i niecałe 400 kilometrów od Wiednia.
Location of this terminal is 400 kilometers away from Berlin and the same distance from Vienna.
I tutaj jesteśmy gotowi wykorzystać porty przeładunkowe na wąskim, na europejskim torze i tą infrastrukturę, którą dzisiaj posiadamy, mówię tutaj o tym szerokim torze, co jest niezmiernie ważne.
In this context, we are ready to use the infrastructure and all the solutions to change the tracks, and also with special regard to the infrastructure adjustment in that respect.
Pozwolę sobie jeszcze po raz wtóry nawiązać do wypowiedzi pana dyrektora Hollowaya. Otóż otoczenie prawne i jednolite stawki dostępu, które udało się ustalić, dostępu do torów kolejowych, które udało się ustalić wszystkim partnerom porozumienia tej trasy kolejowej transkaspijskiej, świadczą o tym, że można usuwać i takie problemy, które hamują proces transportowy.
Let me once again refer to Director Holloway's speech and emphasize the aspect of the legal environment and the barriers which should be removed. The best example is the Trans-Caspian corridors, where during and thanks to the effective cooperation between all the stakeholders, the single unified access charges has been decided.
Kiedy mówimy o partnerstwie, nie możemy zapominać o zasadzie win-win. Wyobrażamy sobie, że oto z Dalekiego Wschodu do Europy przewożone są towary, ale to także Europa chciałaby swoje towary wyeksportować na wschód, na Daleki Wschód.
While considering the partnership principle, we should use the win-win principle. The traffic from China cannot be only in one direction. It's dual
I tak rozumiemy zasadę win-win.
And that's how we understand the
tak
win-win
rozumiemy
principle.
partnerstwo.
And that's how we understand partnership.
Każdy z nas, uczestników tego projektu, i nawet ci, którzy w nim bezpośrednio nie uczestniczą, muszą być jego beneficjentami ekonomicznymi i społecznymi.
Every and each of us who is a partner in this project must be benefiting from the project in many senses, economical and social as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and also for the reminder that we're talking about a circuit that moves in both directions, and if we had a Chinese panelist in another hour, we could pick up on that subject as well. But I think, since we don't have either, I will go straight away now to our final member of the panel, to Slovenia, and ask you, Minister, for your thoughts on mechanisms of cooperation on the one hand, and or on financial cooperation, funding cooperation on the other. Please.
Thank you very much. I would like to cover these aspects on an example of our, let's say, flagship infrastructure project in Slovenia, which is that railway connection I was already mentioning between the port of Koper and main corridor, railway corridor, Mediterranean or Baltic Adriatic core European network. So this is one project of constructing second railway track, so we are removing bottleneck here between this connection between the port and main railway. It's 27 kilometers of quite demanding infrastructure project with lots of tunnels. Worth of the project is 1 billion euros, and we have dealt it in a way since this is located in Slovenia, but it is not only of importance for Slovenia, but it has regional importance for Central, Southeastern Europe. So we have dealt this investment in a way that we have established a special company for this project, where we can participate with equity, and this participation is guaranteed by Republic of Slovenia and with cooperation of Hungary. So we have partnering countries participating with equity, and the rest of the investment is covered by non-refundable European funding, where we are now in the process of applying for this funding. And the third part, which is also important, is loan, which is going to be covered from European Investment Bank. And this is very important also because we are using here this mechanism of European strategic fund for investments. So the government will not have to guarantee for this loan with its own guarantees, but it will be covered through this mechanism. So this is kind of cooperation where we put together all different types of mechanisms. So equity, loan, European funding, and we also have support from all the neighboring or hinterland countries from Austria, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, Bavaria. So this is an example of this regional cooperation in getting these projects done. And what is also important, issue of bankability, because its railway project is not always assured that the railway can generate enough revenue. So we have prepared special act, special law for this investment, where we can transfer some of the money which is generated from tolling, from highway, to invest into this railway project. So in this way we also push or support modal shift from roads to railways.
Thank you very, very much. And mindful, and that, by the way, a great example of what Director General Holle told us about slicing up risk in order to optimize funding mixes. So thanks very much for that. I'd like to come back to our host for a one-sentence, two-sentence last word. You told me at the beginning when I was asking about how to welcome everybody, Gama Joba essentially means that we're wishing all of you victory. And so I'd like to ask you, dear Vice Prime Minister, if you look ahead 8 years, 4 more Belt and Road Fora, let's say, if you keep doing it every 2 years or so, what for you would count for victory in 2025? If you were looking back at 6 total Belt and Road Fora, what would you say would they have contributed to make this be a victory?
So thank you very much. And I really want to wish all of you the victory and success. And I am sure that this forum is for our mutual and beneficial success. So if look the 8 years ahead, I would like to wish to have the 10 times more cargo flow in our corridor. So I think that in that sense, we will reach the tremendous benefits for all the countries inside the corridor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Madalova, this is, I think, more or less how I would say thank you in Georgian. I'd like to thank all of our panelists very, very much for being with us. Let's give them a bit more applause, please.